Good morning, church. I'm Joe Compton, Shalom from Jerusalem, or virtual Jerusalem. The psalm I have today is Psalm 141, written by David. And actually, this could be called Psalm 911 because David is calling out to God for help. And David was in distress when he penned this psalm, most likely being pursued by Saul. Saul wanted to kill him at the time. So have you ever been in distress or prayed while you were in distress? I know that I have. I remember once when I was about in the sixth grade, I went to a routine dentist appointment to have a tooth extraction by myself after school one day, and I had an overdose of Novocaine by the dentist, and all of my glands in my throat, my eyes swelled up, swelled shut, and they had to rush me to the emergency room at the hospital. And I remember when my mother was contacted and called to the hospital, I heard her running through the emergency room door, and she fell down beside my bed that I was on. And I couldn't see her because my eyes were swollen shut. And she cried out and prayed the Lord to save her son and asked for mercy. And I could feel her and I could hear her, but I couldn't see her. She was definitely in distress. I can also remember a few years ago when my son was in middle school that we had a medical emergency with him, and he had a reaction to a steroid in his eyes and had to be taken to the doctor in an emergency situation. The doctor said he could lose his eyesight. And of course, that just brought you to your knees in prayer and asking God in that distress to please just giving him his eyesight back. And thankfully he did. And I thank the Lord for that. I had a scare one time that I had a lump that I thought was cancer. And trust me, if you experience that, it'll bring you to your knees and say, oh God, please no, please no. So behind me is a picture in Jerusalem, and this particular wall is a remaining wall of the original temple grounds, and it's called the Western Wall, and it's known for being called the Wailing Wall because that's where Jews gather even today, and that's where they go cry out the Lord, and they weep over the destruction of the temples that were built on this mount. And as you can see behind me today, there's a Muslim mosque there where the temple grounds were. David Lucas and I were able, this 2 years ago, November, to actually go to this Wailing Wall and say prayers at that wall as well. It was a joy and a pleasure to do so. So getting back to this psalm, I just cry for distress rather. Let's look at verses 1 and 2, and I'll let you handle the rest. But verse 1 says, Lord, I cry out to you. Make haste to me. That means I come quickly, Lord. Answer me quickly. Give ear to my voice when I cry out to you. Hear me when I call you, is what he's saying. Like a child to a parent demanding immediate attention when hurt and in trouble. And I know we've all had those instances with our children that we've heard a screech or scream and we've dropped whatever we're doing and ran to them immediately. And that's what David is doing, crying out to God. And a good parent always responds immediately like that. And I know even today, my daughter Jessica, 24 years old, if she has something very important she wants to talk to us about, she'll sit down and talk to us. And if we're not looking at her in the face and giving her our full attention, she says, you're not looking at me. You're not looking at me. She wants our full attention. And so David is crying out to the Lord for his full attention and immediate help in this situation. And he goes on in verse 2 to say, let my prayer be set before you as an incense, the lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. And we're not familiar with those type things or having evening sacrifices, but throughout the Old Testament, we see incense playing a significant role in the worship of God had prescribed for his people. It was so essential there was an altar of incense in the holy place, and that holy place would have been located in the temple up here on these Temple Mount grounds. Incense was burned daily on this altar at the time of the morning and evening sacrifices, and the burning of the incense was a symbolic of the prayer of the people rising up to God. And so David is referencing, his prayers be like incense. to God as they practiced in the Old Testament. But as we consider incense in this topic, it's important to remember the ceremonies of the Old Testament were pictures and shadows of what Christ would accomplish in his atoning work on the cross. And incense is a part of that picture. Ultimately, incense is a picture of the sacrifice of Christ, which is the sweet aroma that goes up before the Father in our behalf. So we got to remember that when we pray, and David is alluding to, he wants his prayer to be a sweet aroma, a sincere prayer, calling out to God, knowing that God will help him. He wants it to be a sweet aroma, and our prayers are a sweet fragrance when we cry out to the Lord and pray to him, because it's our conversation to him, and he wants us to have those conversations every day like we would want to have with our spouse or our family members. We want to communicate, and God wants us to communicate with him, whatever the need may be. So as we wrap this up, may this short study encourage you to spend more time in prayer each day and each week, and hopefully not always in distress, but always in prayer with a thankful heart, and let that be a sweet aroma to the Lord like incense was in David's times. Thank you very much and have a great day.